All right, last thing we're going to cover in this part of phase one is the founder selling outcomes. So, understanding the purpose of founder selling will help you do better work and make sure you don't miss important details that could end up hurting you later on. So, the purpose of founder selling is to graduate from founder selling and delegate sales. Let me repeat that. The purpose of founder selling is not to generate revenue. It's to graduate from founder selling and delegate sales. So we do this in two ways. First, we generate enough revenue to cover the overhead of a sales hire, and then we figure out your sales motion. So we run into some problems when this isn't done right. When founders sell without this purpose in mind, they just sell for the sake of selling. They just sell to get more revenue. And hey, revenue is great. I'm never going to tell you revenue is a bad thing, right? Like cash flow is king. But founder selling's main priority is not revenue. That's a secondary goal. The primary goal is to get the founder out of sales. You're not creating your company so that you can make yourself a new sales job. You're creating this company so that you can impact and improve people's lives and be financially rewarded for doing that work and serving people. So your primary goal should be to get you out of sales because that's not your long-term home. Your long-term home is leading an innovative company and changing some aspect of the world by providing a unique service that no one's provided to people before. And you need to be solving higher level problems than sales after a time. So at first, you do need to be involved in sales, but then you need to make your exit from sales. So if a founder just focuses on revenue, transitioning out of selling at the right time will be harder because they're going to get trapped because they haven't paid attention to proper revenue targets. They probably sold for too short or too long, and they haven't done enough work to actually figure out the sales motion. They've just figured out how to close that next deal, and they're not focusing on how to actually scale their sales efforts so that someone else can come in and successfully run those. And I talk to a lot of founders who are stuck in this situation, and they feel trapped because they're afraid if they stop selling, revenue is going to die. But when you focus on the true outcome of founder selling, which is getting out of founder selling, you're going to generate revenue, but at the same time, you're going to be building processes and systems and figuring out your sales motion so that you can be confident that when you bring on that first sales hire, they're going to sell well. So your founder selling outcomes, what you're actually going to do here. So as a reminder, we have two main outcomes for founder selling. The first is to generate enough revenue to cover the overhead of your sales hire. And then the second is to figure out your sales motion. So this should be the goal of your sales efforts, not just revenue. So how do we do this? So to generate enough revenue to cover the overhead of a sales hire, you need to know what sales role you'll hire for first. And I cover this in phase 3. So if you want to jump ahead and listen to that lesson, you can. Next, what the market rate is for that role. So once you know what role is you're going to hire for first, and you may not know this up front, you may have to do some selling first to figure this out. Next, you need to know what the market rate is. So what do other people pay people to do that job in your local sales market? And then set your revenue goal for 1.5 to 3x that amount, that market rate, before hiring that rep. So there are going to be other overhead involved with bringing on salespeople other than just their salary. And you don't just want to 1x that overhead and that salary. You want to be a little bit above that to be comfortable and make sure you can keep growing and invest in marketing and everything else that you're going to need to invest in when you bring on that salesperson. So your goal before hiring that salesperson should be to get to 1.5 to 3x that amount before thinking about hiring that sales rep. And then you also need to figure out your sales motion. So you can't just get to that revenue number. You also have to figure out your sales motion. And this is important because that's going to let that first sales hire be successful. If you don't do this, it's going to be a gamble, and there's going to be a good chance they don't work out and you're going to have to fire them because they don't actually produce revenue. So to figure out your sales motion, you need to document everything possible in your sales efforts. Record calls, document objections, figure out why people buy and why people don't buy. And it doesn't have to be super organized. Just have that information somewhere because it's going to be really useful when it comes to building out your sales processes in phase 2. And then the other thing you need to do to figure out your sales motion is work through phases 1 and 2 of this course. This is really what I'm here to help you do, is figure out your sales motion. That's the focus here. So now you know that the main purpose and outcome of founder sales is not just to generate revenue, it's to get you out of founder sales by generating enough revenue to bring on a sales rep and to figure out your sales motion so they can actually be successful.
Okay, listening to this again, I use the same language in this clip a lot of times, and I just want to say it a different way to make sure that it's clear. So the goal of selling as a founder is to generate revenue, But in addition to that, you also want to be laying the groundwork and understanding how you sell your product to your market so that when it is time for you to exit founder-led sales and bring on your first sales hire, you can give them the information that they need to be successful. There is a way that you could do a lot of selling as a founder, but not be documenting, not be testing different things. And then you wouldn't really have anything to hand off to that first sales hire. And that's really going to slow down your growth. So the best way to accelerate your growth with founder-led sales is to understand what you're aiming at here. It's a dual goal of both producing revenue and hopefully getting enough MRR to cover the cost of that first sales hire so that they're not a burden on the company and they're not a cost center until they turn into a profit center, hopefully. And then giving them the information, processes, tools, scripts, all of those things that we'll cover in section 2 that we're going to build that will enable them to actually be a profit center and make money. Cool. And then if there are any other things you need help with, I'm available for one-on-one calls. You can book those at revliftoff.com. That's REVLIFTOFF.com, revliftoff.com, where you can buy all the workbooks for this course that I made to make implementation of everything I talk about super easy. And then I have one-on-one sessions for 30 or 60 minutes where we can problem solve things, help fill out those workbooks, go through these modules, or tackle any other thing to help make that time as valuable for you as possible. Thanks and good luck.